logic of it makes sense. Steve is recognizing it doesn't want to be in Steve, and then Steve wants to get out of Steve. It's the fundamental little nuclear reactor move.
Fission fusion, fission fusion.
What I want to know is what followed the breadcrumbs to get us here?
Yeah. Misdirected looking.
Misdirected looking. Oh.
I would say. Have you been involved with any spiritual stuff, or?
A little bit.
A little bit. All right, good.
I had a fun flash the other day. Pondering the openness, the nothingness, and it's those ice cream bars called It's It. What a great name, right?
That's right. It's from South San Francisco.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking about it. It's never what it is in words. It's It.
Hello, Bubble Gal.
Hello.
Well, this didn't come immediately, Steve. I had to try a lot of ways, you know, running into something, backing up, trying to get out this, backing up. A lot of coop. And then because of the self-centeredness, in a way you get blamed for not being able to get out of you. Yeah. So you don't look at maybe it's a failed system, you think you're failing. The same iPhone ring, because every time a phone rings,
yeah,
you think it's yours. I don't see why they wouldn't just change. Tons of them. So I like that. Yeah. Remember Forbidden Planet?
Oh yeah.
They had that sound sort of.
Yeah. The organ.
One of my favorite. Yeah. That was a very trippy movie because it was his own projections that were producing the beast of this planet. One of the best earliest science fiction movies called Forbidden Planet. I think it was in the 50s. We don't have to record this, but so a famous old actor with a very nice voice started it, so to speak, and he's like a scientist on a new planet, and everyone's sort of dying or something, and so another spaceship shows up, and there's a big beast that's killing everything, but it's him really. It's his mind projecting. Yeah, so it sees these people as threats, and they were calling it ego. So the ego was appearing because there was some juice there, and so the juice would energize the appearance, and his id would come alive, and it was fucking kicking ass. And of course, he was the last one to figure out it was him. Which is usually the case, yeah. So because a lot of, you know, in a applicable, we can record this now, I guess. There's a recording. Oh, it's applicable now, in a sense, because in a way, most of this event here is projection. You know, just in relation and in contact and reactions to things, we're projecting. So like when people would say, I'm really worried about how other people are thinking of me, but it's not, it's your thinking about how other people are thinking. Yeah, so you're projecting thoughts into them, and then you're saying they're thinking those thoughts, because you're already seemingly in the effect of those thoughts being thought about you. So you project, everything's projected in a weird way of trying to get out of it. But you can't get, it's sort of like the dreaming, can't get out of its activity, which is dreaming. Yeah, it can't escape. Yeah, so this movie was really cool, and it was like one of the first, and it had a sound sort of like that when the flying saucer landed. Yeah, whatever. There's another man. Yes, how are you doing? Yeah, sitting in the far over there. Yeah.
Solaris and
Solaris, the original Solaris, yeah. You ever see Solaris? It's a Russian film. They made a movie that George Clooney starred in called Solaris, but it wasn't really like. So the Russian film Solaris, the Russians discovered a planet that's conscious. It's water, all water. It's conscious, and you would think they'd be really excited, but after a few years, they don't care anymore because what the fuck we're gonna do with this conscious planet? So basically, everyone has left the job of the space station, but there's a few people there, so the government doesn't know why, so they send a psychiatrist to check these people out. And he goes, this talk will come later, I'm just going off. We do movie reviews. I'm trying to expand my YouTube presence for doing movie reviews now. So this is.
Can you do Born Free?
Paul says, thumbs up.
So this guy goes up there and he starts seeing some strange things. Like he knows there's only supposed to be like 4 people there, but he sees this little kid running around and stuff like that. And all the people don't want to leave, but they're not really researching the planet anymore. But what's happening is, so he starts having these hallucinations, and he sees his wife who killed herself, and his wife's appearing to him, and they're starting to have engagement, and this is like his wish. And so he gets sort of entranced, but the sense of the wife doesn't have any sense of self at all, and it goes crazy. It doesn't. Yeah. So you should see it. Goes, and then like the Russians do, they go on long soliloquies about why consciousness wouldn't be recognized because we're body oriented. Really, we think it's going to be a body that's conscious. Yeah. So he didn't have they didn't care. They're looking to find something in their own image to be, and so the watery planet, fuck that. Yeah. So there you go. All right. So have you been here before? No. You just wandered in. The YouTubes?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, YouTubes. All right. And for the YouTube audience, we'll be in LA next week. Meet me at the Sun Cafe, Ventura Boulevard. I'm starting to do advertisements. Ventura Boulevard, Universal City. The best almond cheesecake, raw cheesecake. Yeah. So we'll be there next weekend. So the message is simply this. You wanting to change you as you doesn't work. Yes? So why is that? Because you're not that you want to change, basically. We're identified as something that's volatile, but we're not inherently volatile, right? We identify as something that desires or hates, but we're not inherently that which desires and hates. So that which we want to get out of isn't us, really. Yeah. But what happens is there's an identification of that which we want to get out of. So we fall under a predicament of trying to get out of what you're not as what you're not. And that's why things don't work. That's why in recovery, they had a great observation that self can't get out of self. So this feeling of being the doer can't do itself out of the doership. Yeah? The feeling of being a thinker can't think itself out of being the thinker. Yeah. It will just be more thinking, or as we say in recovery, it makes a statement. You got to quit playing God. So it's implying there's something that's playing God, and it needs to quit. Why? It doesn't work. So basically, what's playing God? Hopefully we'd get back to you, and you would see on your little stage there's something that's playing God. And there's evidence, ample evidence. Just this morning, you may have woken up and then you thought how the day was going to be. Like at 8 a.m., there was already a prediction, this is going to suck, whatever. So, or I have a party to go to later tonight. It's going to be terrible. I'm sure she's going to be there. You have no idea, but it plays God and it pontificates. And it turns its God playing on you mostly, You're not enough, you're never going to be loved, whatever. It has a lot of basic themes that it riffs on. So there's something that's playing God. I would say it's the thought system. Yeah. So the thought system is playing God. So it says you got to quit playing God. Simple, it seems easy. If you were the one that was playing God, it would you could get to the point of saying, all right, I'm playing God, I'm going to quit playing God. But see, you're not that which is playing God. See, that's the beauty. So if you try to quit playing God, yes, follow it. It's beautiful. So if that which is playing God, here's the suggestion: you got to quit playing God. And it has a lot of evidence that would be probably a good move. So then it sets on the course of, I'm going to quit playing God, but wouldn't that be playing God? Yeah. So see it. It's so beautifully clear. That which is playing God now tries to play God in the act of quitting playing God. Yeah? So it can't get, so it's going to go on ad infinitum. You've run into the wall, yeah, I've got to stop playing God, but you don't realize that which is playing God hears that, so the only thing you can do is try to quit playing God, which is playing God. So you can't get out. Yeah? So you have all the evidence, I want out. You've tried tons of skillful means that have given you a little bit of relief here and there, but nothing ever stabilized. So then you were just you've been on the moving sidewalk of more, even when it comes to retreat. So you do the 1-day retreat, then it turns into a weekend, then it's a week, and you're hoping that, all right, so the 1-day retreat, I felt really good that night, yeah? So then, all right, the weekend retreat, I felt good that night and the next morning until about 9:30. You know, from 8 to 9:30, I was still feeling pretty good. That's not a bad return. Then I do a week, and I get, wait a minute, I'm only gonna get like a half a day for a week of fucking effort. And then the 3-week, maybe only a half a day. So it's like the returns are going down, the cost is going up, but the payoff is going down. So, but the thing is, the stubbornness is just keep doing more. So I'm going to do 3 months, and then usually you hit a point where I should become a monk. Yeah, really. And I've met a lot of key people in Thailand, Westerners, that had gone that escalation where they became a monk and then they disrobed because it was beautiful there. You could change your mind, and most of them did. After a few months, they gave up the robes. This one guy he was in the temple right next to the zoo in Chiang Mai, and a stag had rammed him. He had big fucking antlers went into his gut. He left after about 3 months. You know, so very few of them would stay a year. I watched it. I was over in Thailand a lot. So there was an escalation. They didn't, it didn't go from Akron, Ohio to fucking Wat Po in Thailand. It was an escalation. Yeah? It just like if you do activism, you realize, hey, the protests are on Saturday, 20 miles away from what you're protesting. No one's losing any money. It's really not going anywhere. So it leads to a point, we got to do some fucking property damage. It escalates to that point where, you've been protesting against this glue factory for 14 years. Nothing's happened. Well, we're going to burn down the glue factory when no one's in there. There won't be any dead horses anymore. Fucking it works. But then the people that run property get upset, and they're really onto your ass. They don't care if you protest, but if you start affecting property, yeah. So the same thing in a weird way, yeah? So it escalates. So the spirituality leads to, I've got to make a huge commitment. I got to get rid of all these hindrances and try to keep it as clear as possible so I can have a condition, an external condition that's beneficial to what I want to be an internal condition. But then there's a lot of managing and fucking controlling there. So I lived in a compound in Australia. A very rich spiritual guy had it. We had a nice place on it. And at 5:30 every day he liked to meditate. He had built his own little place. So at 5:15 he got on this golf cart and ran around the whole property telling all of us, you can't make any noise at 5:30. So he was not in peace whatsoever, but he wanted to be in peace. So he's trying to control the conditions so that he could have peace. But in that effort, which seemed noble, the drive to have peace is noble, but in the trying to manufacture the conditions, there was no peace. So Yes?
Right.
You see it? This isn't a random example. This is what happens. You don't see you're the problem. We don't see that, you know, oh man, I hate how everything seems. Well, there's a statement, the observation distorts what's observed. What? Yeah, so maybe the way you're looking at things is giving them the meaning. What? Really? Yeah. So we're in a huge position here. We want to be big, but we're huge, really. The little mimicking of what we are by the mental state is so tiny, it wants to be the only one that's thought about, or the center of the fucking universe. But really, you are the center of the universe. Yeah, really, in a way. So it's so strange. So this thing of, all right, I've got to control circumstances to be at peace. Yeah? What does that motivate? Managing, wanting to control. What's that? Playing God. Yeah? So once again, you're trying to play God around and, you know, entering God. Yeah? It's so crazy. So hopefully, if you come to these talks and you can look at all your spiritual behaviors, maybe you'll see that what you're using in a way can't arrive there. It can't embrace it. It can't get it. It can't grok it. It just can't. It's not, its programming doesn't have that upgrade available. Yeah? So you realize the futility of trying to get out of me as me. To me, the biggest awakening is a rude awakening. You realize, Jesus, this ain't working. You know, like, I seem to always be there. So what the hell? I want to experience my absence, but I want to be there to experience the absence. See, I want to, if attaining reality means I have to be destroyed, I'm not going to want to attain reality, obviously. But I'd love to attain reality and still be there. So I would love to realize oneness, but have the two-ness in place. Yeah, I want the oneness as one thing and me as the other. That's having the oneness. Yeah, it's not in the contract. You can't. There's no exemption. Two can't get into one. It doesn't fit. So I love spiritual practices because they'll lead you to the recognition that the way they're being applied as a vehicle is failed. As an expression, I think it's cool. Yeah, I mean, if you're feeling at peace and you want to express that, you pause, you sit there for 20 minutes, 15 minutes. You're not timing it. You don't have a journal of every day. You just sit there, take a break. You're readily available, so you sit there. Just like I do talks a lot of different places, and for some reason, I got involved in the East Coast with people that do kirtan, who are devotional singing, and sometimes they put like New English words onto these famous hymns, yeah? And so they would open the talk, so I'd get there, and they would start singing, and I was available for a second. I could feel the bliss and everything, and I'm not a kirtan person, but I'm not a person, so I'm available to kirtan. As a person, I may not be available to kirtan because I may have a lot of opinions about it, but as a non-person, I'm available. So I would just go right in it for a second, like a second, and then it's over, and then I walk up and I go, well, here's the bad news, because, those experiences come and go, though rather nice. You're not going to be singing kirtan all day, 24/7. But what will allow you, because it's already our ability to be readily available to what's happening, what will allow that is maybe seeing it's not you that has to become readily available to what's happening. Maybe that you can never be readily available to what's happening. Yeah? Maybe if you see you're not that you'll find out that you're readily available to what's happening with no thought on effort. It's not based on thought or effort or fucking acumen or realization. It's just what happens if you're present, which we are. That immediately puts you in the category of being available to what? To what's happening. And so if you're present and available, what I found is you'll be of service. So you'll be useful. You'll be part of the whole dance, yeah? And you won't be thinking you have to be in the fourth position or the first or in the back of the line or whatever, hoping that the first shall be last, last shall be first. Hoping, okay, you'll just be available. And you won't have a mental diary of your day after day. Everything will be forgotten quickly. That's forgettable. Yeah? And what's unforgettable, you don't have to remember it. You really don't. So there's not much effort on our part. So you lose interest in you, the you that you're not. And you gain interest in what? I don't know, find out. Electric bikes, something like that. I have a lot of different interests. Yeah? But that interest will be readily available at all times because it's been freed from the slavery of the mental state of having to be interested in yesterday and tomorrow so much. Yeah? You lose interest in that preoccupation of yesterday and tomorrow, and then therefore the interest is available, and whatever's happening can draw it into the happening. It's not like withheld or put aside. It's not in the back 40. It's right there. You're right here. You don't get gypped. You're not missing fucking anything. You're just on, not because you went through an incredible to rise to this point. It's basically the stock version of what's happening. You are consciousness here. Yeah. Without you, nothing's going on. Yeah. So, what's so much? What do you think? The only way it would look like you've got to have a lot of thought and effort to be what you are is if you're thinking you're something else. Yeah. If you're thinking you're something else that needs to be conscious, it's going to be a lot of fucking vigilant. You're going to watch. You're going to have to watch for unconsciousness at every moment because you're the bearer of both tidings, good and bad, conscious, unconscious. This is a dualistic expression. You're like a book, 2 pages. You can't just have the one thing. That would be a notepad, so to speak. It's like this. Yeah, you can't. There's no escape from it. So if you get a sense of being consciousness, but you're surrounded with the possibility of unconscious, there's not much peace involved in that. Because you're thinking, oh, I'm feeling great, but I probably won't be in an hour or two. It's not, how can you really, you're beholden by time, and I'm telling you, this is beholden to time. If you're trying to convince this that it's not of time, don't waste your time, seriously. Just move on from that. This is of time. Yeah, it's eroding slowly. The moisturizers aren't stopping the approach of time. But as Jesus supposedly said, so you're in this world of time, but you're not of it. Yeah, you're in this world of things, but you're not of it. You're in this world of separation, but you're not of it. Yeah. You're in this world of dualities, but you're not of it. So why would you want to try to convince what's in that it's not of the in? Just see you're not that, which is in. Yeah? And that in will travel later. It will. That's the benefit. Because you're an expression of that source, and that source, when it entertains a possibility, it's going to reverberate, and it's going to be the seismic movement will be felt here. It will. Yeah. Of course, it will be months later because this thing is very, very slow, but it'll start realizing, Jesus Christ, I'm traveling lighter, and I haven't been working on it at all. Yeah. And I can't seem to write myself as the cause of it because it's so far from my reach. I'm not even going to try, so I'm just going to realize something is doing for me what I can't do for myself, which is one of the realizations in recovery, a beautiful realization. Hey, you suddenly realize that something is doing for you what you can't do for yourself. That wasn't one time on October 10th. You're in that quite a lot. You're suddenly realizing something is doing for you what you can't do for yourself, like most of the time. If it happened only once, it would be you'd build some pageantry around it. watch me suddenly realize. But it's if you're in the state of suddenly realizing it, it's normal. Yeah? There's no pageantry. It's not, stop the procession. You know, no, it's just normal. Hey, you're in a state of suddenly realizing that something's doing for you what you can't do for yourself. Like breathing you, pumping the heart, moving the blood, causing the sneeze, urine coming out, other things, you know. And if you look at this thing, something new better to give it any power. Almost every big thing is not involuntary, except the breath is half voluntary. That's it. Everything else is on automatic. Because if you were at the controls, you wouldn't have made it through 15 minutes. You would have been pumping your heart and got distracted. You'd been dead. So something said, no. Unfortunately, you know, through an inheritance, you got a megaphone, the head, and it just plays loud. If you saw it wasn't you, you'd lose interest in all that's being used to reinforce it. That's the basic thing. You can't lose interest. You can't be interested in losing interest. That would still be interest. You see, you can't get out of it that way. I tried, and so a lot of people here have. Yeah, it doesn't work. You can't get out of it if the premise is that you're in it. Yeah, you can temporarily escape, but you'll always return. But the way to get out of it is realize you've never been in it. Yeah, what you are has never been in it. What you're not is never going to be out of it. I'll tell you the truth. Its hope is that it's going to get out of it, but it's never going to be out of it. What you are has never been in it. What you're not will never get out of it. Instead of what you're not is in something, but it really believes it can get out of it. Yeah, as what it's not. Nope, it's different. It's different. It's totally different. So you see what you're not from what you are, instead of looking for what you are from what you're not. Yeah? Same. Yeah? You'll feel the difference because you have a long memory of looking from what you're not for whatever you're looking for. You have that sense. When the seating gets changed, you'll feel it. And then maybe there'll be a feeling of click or whatever, aha, resonation, you know, the tuning fork or something. You'll probably get a verification of the new setting. So it will. The machinery will go ka-kring. Now the head will try to claim that and override it, but something happened, yeah? Something clicked. That's all it is, yeah? And then what happens is the head will say that something clicked for it. Now you're seeing that's not you. So that which wants to make it an infrequent event, that's just some kind of mystery produced it, though I had a lot to do with it. Now you realize you're not that, which is putting on all the conditionings. You're not that, that's putting the fucking hoops up for you to jump through. It's your head playing God. So what happens if that which is God sees that it's not that which is playing God? That's quitting playing God. Yeah. Now, does the playing God quit? No, it goes on because the programming is programming. The programming doesn't have a large window for it to completely stop and then start again fresh and new. No. It's too much based on memory and comparison. It's not going to change. I'm telling you. The Toyota's not going to be a chariot of the gods. It isn't. Unless the chariot of gods want to go to the dump or something. Yes, then it's good. It's utilitarian. It can carry shit. It can do so. It can express. But it's not going to get polished up enough to it's just not that way. So just see what you're not. You know. How are you going to accept? How is there ever going to be acceptance of what you're not as what you're not? The acceptance comes from seeing it's not you. That's what allows it to be a Toyota. Yeah? That's what You don't keep polishing the fucking rubber on the tires, you know. It's running well, just it's being useful. That's all that's necessary. Yeah? And then mind alone. And you know how much all the suffering really that's happening here seemingly is all entwined with the body experience. Go into one of those inversion tanks. What you feel is an absence of the body influence. That's what feels so great. You're floating as if you're not a body. Yeah? So it's futile, but you know, if you've got to do what you got to do, then you do it. We were talking about in recovery last night, and there's just a beautiful statement called being convinced, which means to believe with certainty. We all have all the evidence we need to be convinced, really. We all have all the evidence in the world to be convinced that this is a failed system, that I'm not going to get out of me as me. And there's no better me to arrive at. It will just be all about me arriving at a better me. And when you arrive at the better me, it will be called me. And then you'll want a better me. And a better me. Yeah? It just goes on and on and on. Yeah? You don't need to go 800 miles of the trip. You maybe 50 miles. You'll know, hey, fuck. All the hope of it's around the bend. I've been around 20 bends. Nothing appears. What is it, the 25th bend? You know what I mean? There's nothing around the bend. So you can... Yeah. So, yes. But if you're in trouble and you're having difficulty as Steve, there's tons of skillful means you can learn and use to alleviate some of the pressure building. Yeah. And maybe that's what you need. I don't know. This is an interesting message because it's really about nothing, really. But I really believe all the somethings we've tried have ended up to be nothing. I think, why not try nothing? Yeah, maybe if you could really not try to deny that which needs a skillful means, but to see you're not that which needs a skillful means. Yeah, that's all. Just throw it in there. Don't fucking deny. I mean, don't sit in the fire in the house while it's burning and then try to say there's no house and no fire. Get the pail of water, but when the water, the fire's out, maybe ask yourself, it seems like I go to a lot of fires, there must be a role I have here, and maybe you could see something, and maybe you could get to the causes and conditions of things. And I'll tell you, it will always end up right where you are. We are the dreaming of the dreaming. Or you can save time and read something like The Course in Miracles or some other book that will trigger a knowledge that's always there, and it will give name to it, and a name that you can travel with here, which is, hey, you are the dreaming of the dreaming. Now, I heard I was in a dream. I heard I was an object of something else's dream, like God's dream, or maybe the devil's dream, but I never, ever heard the possibility, you're the dreaming, bro. You're actually dreaming. Now, you are the dreaming. You're not a minor player in it. You are dreaming, the dreaming. Wow, that's an incredible leap. Yeah, and that you want to know how? You can look at it. You and I are giving everything all the meaning it has. That sounds like dreaming. You know what I mean? In other words, there's nothing that's real here that imposes its meaning on me, unless I give it the ability to do that. So, yes. So some people, I was in a bad, there's never really a good accident. I was in a crippling car accident, got run over by cars. And it was I was in the orthopedic, or the wing of this hospital, teaching hospital, and there was a lot of severe cases there, motorcycle accidents, yes? And we all had a certain level, because a lot of us got airlifted to this teaching hospital. So there was a certain severity that was the level there. I mean, people were very, very damaged. And so you could see how everyone saw it, as it went on. Some people became alcoholics, others rose above it. You know, there was a lot of things, but basically everyone gave it the meaning it had of being run over, yeah, or being crippled or whatever. The meaning was being had, and that which gave it the meaning could override the meaning, yeah? In other words, the meaning isn't crippling, completely crippling, because the meaning is not, it's not a reality, yeah? It's lending a reality to it. As Buddhism 101 says, everything is empty, inherently empty of being a long-lasting thing. There's nothing that has its own reality, basically. So everything's inherently empty. We're reality, yeah? We're reality dreaming. That could be an incredible call to disarm when you hear that. Then you start seeing the futility of attempting to leave the dream as the dreamt. It doesn't work. Yeah, so, or trying to figure out, how am I the dreaming as the dreamt? That doesn't work. So suddenly you switcheroo and you see, Jesus Christ, I don't want to waste any more time reading about being the dreaming as the dreamt. I want to see the dreamt from the dreaming instead of trying to see the dreaming from the dreamt. Yeah, that's the whole shift of this message. I don't want to waste any time trying to convince the dreamt it's dreaming. I want to just give the idea to the dreaming that is not the dreamt. That's all. That's all. I just want to simply, instead of all the messages going to the dreamt, I want to send it to the dreaming. And the message will be about the dreamt instead of the message to be about the dreaming to the dreamt. I want the message to be information about the dreamt to the dreaming. Yeah. In other words, I don't want to talk to Steve about Buddha. I want to talk to Buddha about Steve. Because at the same time, there's no time and time, there's the Buddha, aka Steve, and then in time there's Steve without knowing the aka Buddha. So I'm not wasting my time talking to Steve about the Buddha because I know humbly it doesn't go really anywhere. I want to talk to the Buddha about Steve, because if the Buddha-ness of Steve goes, hey, Jesus, that sounds exactly like me and I'm not that, then you're going to get freedom from Steve. And you realize you've been trying to be free as Steve for quite a while. Yeah. Or you're trying to get to freedom through Steve, or with Steve, or as Steve. Now the freedom is from Steve. And if Steve actually never existed, then the freedom from is inherent. It's not produced, so it can't be unproduced. You see, this is the beauty of it. Yes, if the freedom is from an imaginary condition, then the freedom is always available at all times, because it's you seeing it as real that's causing the effect of being bound. Yeah. When you, as what you are, see as unreal, you're freed from it. And when you're freed from it, it tells you it's always been this way. You've always been freed from it. That's what it tells you. It'll hit you immediately. It's always been this way. In other words, all this acting of, oh, I'm bound and unbound was made up. Yeah? Doesn't mean it doesn't have its meaning. It does when you're in it. But ultimately, it has no meaning, because it hasn't affected. Ultimately, all the reality of the clouds have not left one impression on the sky. There's tons of clouds and fog moving through. There's not been one expression. Nothing has been tattooed on the sky ever. It has, millions of clouds have passed through it. And the only reason they can appear is because of the sky, but they have not affected it one bit. What do you think this is? This is a living painting of what we are, an imaging of what we're not. So I don't want to try to look at the sky from the clouds. I want to see the clouds from the sky. That's how I want to be. And that's the direction of the message. Yeah. I don't want to see non-duality from duality. I want to see duality from non-duality. You know, I'm fucking tired of trying to, oh, let's not address this incredible elephant in the room, which is this dualistic subject-object thing, and let's just talk about non-duality without saying a fucking thing about the duality that's happening right now. It doesn't go anywhere. I've seen it. It goes to another meeting, 800 meetings. Duality doesn't need to freaking know about non-duality. It can't. All it can do is have concepts of it. Yeah, and then it thinks it knows it. Yeah? No, but non-duality totally negates the importance of convincing duality. It's non-duality. There's no point in it because it's imaginary. I'm trying to project the message to a projection from the light. So I'm going to the projection. You're the light when I'm the light. So let's just say I'm not the projected. What? Yeah. There's projecting. I'm not the projected. You'll find out what? You're light. You don't have to hear it, middleman or woman. Oh, I'm the light. I'm the light. You are the light. You don't have to chant it. Just see what you're not, which is the projected, from light, instead of trying to see the light from the projected. The moon is using the sun's light to see the sun. Just so you're not the moon. The moon doesn't have any inherent light. It's reflecting. Yeah? Sun is the inherent light. The moon, bing, bing. We think the moon is shining. The moon has no fucking, the moon is cold. There's no engine. There's no sparks. There's no back, whatever things. It's dead. Yeah? It's being hit by light, and then we see it as light, a source of light. There's the moon. It's shining today. No, it isn't. It's never shined ever. Yeah? So now the moon wants to know the sun as the moon. It's using the sunlight to try to explore sunlight. Just see you're not the moon. Doesn't mean the moon goes away. It doesn't. But you know, no. Now, you took this out and this out, and it's this. So as Huang Po says, you can't use light to seek light. Why would he say that unless a lot of us were doing it? Something that's so obvious you wouldn't have to point it out. So something must be happening, which is something's using light, meaning light's using light to seek light. So he's talking, but you think it's Steve, so you're going, hey, I'm using the wisdom of the ages, the light of the ages to seek the light. Sounds noble as Steve, but you're not Steve, you're light. So light, going through AKA Steve, is now using itself to find itself. They've told us that doesn't work. If the shoe fits, you wear it. I mean, if you were walking around, doing something, and then someone said, hey, your zip is open, you look, oh, yeah? So there would be a stop, though, and then, oh, so this is what the message is. You're walking around, hey, your zip is open, bro. Yeah. Did it just suddenly open? No, it's been open for a few hours. Everyone was having some laughs about it. I'm the first person that had some compassion for you and said, hey, bro, zip is open. Oh, that's it. Bye-bye. You got the message. I mean, are you using light to seek light? Are you using the Buddha to seek the Buddha? Are you using mind to seek mind? It's a nice question. That's what Huang Po's saying. He says you can't do it, even though you're doing it. Hey, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. So if that hits you, it would stop. You would go. It would disarm you immediately. Yeah. I mean, do they have the comic routines from the 1400s? Like comedians, did they write those jokes down? From 500 AD? No, these little nuggets seemingly have been left thousands of years ago, never forgotten. Yeah? Because they triggered something. This guy said it maybe in the 1500s or 1200s. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. can't use mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. That's lasted a long time, that statement. Yeah? What's looking, St. Francis, what's looking is what you're looking for. These things, and one thing was, hey, what is it? Events happen, deeds are done, but there's no individual doer thereof. What? Oh yeah, shit's happening. Actions are going on, but there's no individual doer of the actions. So then what? Then there's just seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, doing. Everything is verbing. There's no noun there. Supposedly that's what one of the things Buddha said. You know, events are happening, deeds are being done, but there's no individual doer thereof. All right, so therefore there's no nouns, right? He's not saying there's no happenings, there's no things happening, there's no seeing here. He's saying there's no individual doer of it. So he just negated the noun of it all. He just says there's no nouns. Get used to it. So what happens is if you feel like a noun and your whole narration up here is based on nouns, maybe you take the Buddha as an authority of something, that an authority has just negated that whole storyline. So maybe maybe that would pause you, yeah? So that you would stop and let it catch up to you. Why, wait a minute. Events are happening. Yeah, that's true to me. Deeds are being done. Yes, things are happening. People are doing things. But there is no individual doer thereof. So if there's no individual doer, is there a giant doer? No, there's doing. There's just verbing. Yeah? Wouldn't that bring a little modicum of relief from guilt and shame of all the things you fucking thought you did or didn't do that you should have done? I would imagine it would. And when you're in a giant fucking mountain of suffering, a little air hole would be fucking incredibly fucking great. If you think it's little, it isn't little for the person in the mountain to have that little fresh air. Can you imagine? And what happens when you taste it? A possibility, hey, maybe I'm not in this fucking mountain of guilt and shame. Yes? Who knows? One little breath of fresh air can produce an imagination of freedom. It's just unbelievable. This is what this message is. It lends you a possibility that's always available at all times, right where you are. And there's no requirement necessary for you to fulfill to be it, you know. To me, I can't see a more relaxing, disarming message that you are what you're looking for. No matter what volatile condition you think you're in, you're not in. Yeah? What you're in, seemingly, is a thinking condition. So, yeah. Any questions? Now I have a new book out if you're interested, and Zen Bitch Slap shirts if you want to represent. You got the right hat on, so you need a Zen Bitch Slap shirt. That's good. You wore a New York hat for it. You're on my good side. So no questions? All right.
Doesn't NY stand for not you?
That's right. That's the Kabbalic hidden message. That's the Kabbalic hidden message. Not you.
So you look in the mirror.
Huh.
All right. So everyone's all right. We'll pass the basket. Yes.